Hi there, I'm Dr. David Lai, and I'm a dentist along with my wife, Dr. Monica Wu at Compass Dental Arts in San Jose, California. You can also follow me at my Instagram of Dr. Molarcycle. And today I'll go ahead and show you how to create a face shield. Now this one's a little bit different. So this design does allow for a few things over here. It does allow for this to move downwards to the visor, and the main reason for that again is in case you need that extra viewing angle, you need to move your head, but you want to go ahead and cover everything, you can adjust that. Now the other thing that's going to be very critical about this over here is the fact that with this over here, especially from a dental background, a lot of us are actually using loupes now, right? And also some of us are using loupes plus a loop light. Now the typical face shield is going to be a headband. It's going to be tapered to your head. Now if you have that and the face shield that's going to be right on top of there, there's no way in heck you're going to be able to wear your loupes there. Okay, so with this over here, you can see that there is a bit of a spacing over here. So this allows for the loupes to actually not bump into the shield itself. So very, very critical. Now, in addition to that, especially with all the new PPEs and having been seeing our emergency patients for the last 3 weeks now, there's a lot of heat that's going to be generated. So having double masks, your gloves, your new gown that's not breathable essentially because it's going to be waterproof, there's a lot of heat. So again, anything will help over here. So again, having this vent over here, very, very important. Now, as far as for the design over here, using this Duralar material, this one over here, it is a 9x12. So it's a clear sheet, and you can get this at Amazon. So the main purpose of having this be 9x12 is the fact that this part over here, it will go ahead and cover basically from here all the way past your chin, but then this part will also go ahead and cover your forehead. Even if you're tilting downwards, you'll get the vent, you'll get the heat escape, plus having this over here to cover that. Okay, so again, for today we're going to show you how to make that. Okay, a lot of tools that we'll be using you may already have around the house. So again, it's a very simple process, and I hope this helps out. Started. So the first thing we'll do is let's go ahead and work with this porch cap material here. Now it is 8 feet, so it's a little bit bothersome to work with within your first cut. So let's go ahead and measure this out. So the measurement for this over here, and there's going to be 2 components. We're going to call it the headband, and then also we'll call it the visor. So the headband itself is going to be 24 inches, so 2 feet over here. So let's go ahead and make a mark right over here. And then we're going to cut that, and then we're going to measure the visor portion over here. So again, the first cut is going to be a little bit tricky just because it's really long, and you have to make sure that you don't bump into anything while we're working. So that's the first cut. This is going to be the headband. Now the next one over here, the next cut is going to be at 21.5 inches. So 21 and a half here. So let's go ahead and get that situated. All right, 21 and a half. I'm just going to make a mark, and we're going to cut this. And we'll find it much easier to work with after this is shortened. Now with this 8-foot material over here, you can actually make 2 of these at a time, and this we found at Lowe's. If you look at my first video as far as for the actual materials itself, it'll go over that and also the cost and where to find it as well. Some materials can be purchased through Amazon, some of it can be found through Home Depot or Lowe's. All right, so let's go ahead and work on this part over here. So before we move on, let's go ahead and make a mark. This is just going to be another tick mark. This is going to be used for later on it'll be useful to center our the shield itself. So this is actually going to be 10 3/4 right over there. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this aside for now. Let's go ahead and work on the headband over here. Let's go ahead and mark this at 1 9/16. Okay. Now the purpose of this over here is, again, it's just going to be an indication for where we actually need to line up this, we'll call this the cushion for the headband itself. So that's just a tick mark for later on there, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and work on the next thing, which is going to be to mark where we need to cut the holes for the zip tie. Now this is actually going to be 3/16 of an inch, so just off the edge of this over here. This one is going to run right through the middle third of this over here. Just going to flip it around. We'll do the exact same thing. Okay, now what I find useful for this is to use a Dremel tool. What I'm going to go ahead and use is an acrylic burr. This is a carbide. I don't recommend using a diamond burr. It generates too much heat and it actually ends up melting the plastic and it just looks ugly. So let's go ahead and use this now. Equivalent, acceptable equivalent would be a 557 burr, also carbide, or you can use a 6 round as well. So let's go ahead and see if the zip tie goes through here easily. Now, in terms of the video, I'll try to do it all in one go. This way you can see, how much time is actually needed for it. So we'll try to do minimal editing if we can. Good. So this fits right through. Okay. All right. So here's our headband and our visor. Let's go and work on the next part. Find my marker. And in terms of the location of where the visor will attach, this is going to be 3.5 inches. So this one over here, let's go and make a little bit of a longer mark here. Okay. All right. So from this point, these two are going to go ahead and actually conjoin together. To do this, I'm going to go ahead and actually recommend using some Scotch tape to bind these together over here. And you're going to punch a hole about 3.5 inches away from the center. So in fact, let's go ahead and mark this over here. So 3.5 inches from the end of this piece over here. Sorry, I might have said 3.5. Actually, I meant 1.5. So right over here is good. And let's go ahead and mark this over here. So again, 1.5 inches from the end over here. Good. All right. Let's go ahead and tape these together. So you'll need some Scotch tape or some masking tape. And then we're going to carry this over to our drill press in a second. Now the drill bit size is going to be a 30-second size drill bit. And that'll actually correspond with our machine screws that will hold this together. And we'll go ahead and unbind this and we'll go ahead and do the other side. Perfect. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and put these together. All right. So the screws that we're going to need is, again, it's a machine screw. It's a number 4 by 40, 3/4 inch length over here. Now this packet usually comes with the nut and the bolt over here. And then in addition to that, you'll need these flat washers. So these ones are, I think they're 3 millimeters. That's actually covering it a little bit. Yeah, 3 millimeters washers over here, okay? Let's go and put this together. Now the initial point of contact is actually going to be on the visor side over here. So let's go and grab a screwdriver and we'll go ahead and connect it here. So I like to put this in onto both sides first. And as far as for the face shield, I've been using this for about 3 weeks now, just seeing emergency patients about 6 to 7 hours a day, and it's actually pretty comfortable. So after the first few times I use it, you actually get used to it pretty quickly. All right, okay, so let's go ahead and connect this to the side of here. So this is going to be the outside, which is what essentially the patients will see, and this is actually going to be on the inside because you want this to be smooth and against your head as opposed to this side, which probably won't be very, very comfortable. So you're actually going to go ahead and put both the ridge sides together over here. So this part is maybe a little bit tricky because you have to line this up over here. You'll see a little bit of shininess coming through. Let's go ahead and actually protrude this a little bit further, make it a little bit easier for us. There it is. And you actually screw this all the way, so it's pretty tight. It's going to add another washer, and then also the nut over here. And for now, we'll just hand tighten this. If you want this a little bit tighter, you can always grab a plier on one side and then the screwdriver and tighten it that way. Now, in terms of getting to the other side, it's actually easier if you zip tie it together. So I'm just going to go ahead and actually fit this around. Oh, sorry. I'm going to fit this around my head over here, kind of pre-bend it. Okay, so that's going to be roughly the shape over here. So in terms of the zip tie, this part, I like to have it facing the outside. It'll make it easier to adjust throughout the day if you have it on the outside as opposed to facing the inside of the arch here. There you go. And let's go and feed this through. Good. Okay, so and you'll find that this material is actually pretty forgiving, and it's actually quite strong. So even though we're introducing a pretty severe turn over here, it won't break. Which is really pretty impressive material here for this application. Okay, let's go and tighten this just a bit more. All right, so let's go ahead and adjust this a bit. So again, a lot of pressure that you can apply, it won't break, and it actually maintains that structure that you've just given it, that shape. So it's actually very, very moldable. So I do like this. All right. Okay, so we're pretty much almost done over here. So let's go ahead and add the cushion over here. This is rubber window seal. I like the large one over here because it actually fits fairly well over here. There is a small, medium, and extra large, but those they just don't quite fit well. Now, in terms of the length of this material, we're gonna go ahead and actually need 20.5 inches over here. And I'm going to make a mark and cut it in just a moment. All right. And for this, you just need a pair of scissors. that aside, and we'll go ahead and actually utilize this little tick mark that we marked earlier. And again, that one was 1 9/16 of an inch. But again, the purpose of that mark is just so you can center this over here. All right, very good. Okay. Looks like we were off just a little bit, but not too bad. All right. So the final part over here is to grab one of our sheets of the Duralar material and apply it. Okay, so I like to have a ruler just so I can position this correctly. Now, in terms of where do we actually place the Velcro itself, usually about at, say, the 3-inch mark over here, okay? So let's go ahead and again, this doesn't have to be perfect over here, but let's go and eyeball it. So it's gonna be right over here. That should be good. So essentially it's gonna be almost a third of the way up over here, because this height is going to be 12 inches over here, so it's going to be about a quarter. So these are our Velcro pieces. I already kind of pre-peeled them because they're kind of a pain otherwise. Now, really important, we'll say the loop side of it should be attached to the visor itself, and then that fuzzy part should be towards this over here. What's nice about it is that if you're trying to store it somewhere else and you want it to be flat, you can just rip it off and then put it back together later. So let's see, this is the loop side, so let's go and do that. And put it right there, and we'll tear that off. Okay. And this one we'll put right around the middle. Okay, now using that tick mark that we made earlier on the visor, you can attach it. So this is going to be right about there. And we're going to go ahead and make 2 cuts. I found making a trapezoidal cut over here with the smaller end on top and the larger, the base on the bottom works well. So let's go and do that. But the trapezoid is actually going inwards, so roughly about here and here. And then you'll need 2 pieces of tape to put this together to secure it. So let's go and grab that. All right, and there you have it. Pretty easy to make. So I'll do a follow-up video, and this is going to be more specific for those of us who use a loop light. In terms of how to attach it, there are a couple of methods in there. Some of the companies, they're generous enough to give us a specific attachment where essentially you can just screw it onto here, and then you don't have to worry about it. Others have a clamp, but essentially what we would do is, if you do have a clip or a clamp to actually bite onto here, what I recommend is taking X-Acto knife or a scissor and cutting a little slit over here so it can kind of get into there. If you're looking to increase the bulk of this part over here, what I would recommend is actually using a foam tape over here, such as this one over here. I like Scotch products or 3Ms because I feel like their adhesives are very good, and you can actually attach it over here, so this way it thickens and then you can have something to clip onto. But again, I'll show you that in the second video. Okay. Otherwise, hope you enjoyed this over here. Should have been pretty easy. Not a particularly hard project over here.